Chosen one, have you ever felt like you just don't belong? Like no matter how hard you try, you can't fit into the world around you? That's because you were never meant to be ordinary. And today, you're going to understand why. From the very start, your journey has been unique, marked by challenges and moments of doubt that set you apart from everyone else. The world has tried to mold you, suppress you, and convince you that being different was a problem. But here's the truth. Those differences were never meant to be hidden. They are your power. And now, as you begin to see the bigger picture, you'll realize that every single struggle, every rejection, every feeling of not fitting in was pointing you toward this moment. A moment where you fully understand who you are and why you're here. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. This is a revelation you've been waiting for. And what comes next will change everything. The signs that you were never meant to be like everyone else. From the very beginning, you knew something was different. While others found comfort in the familiar, you were drawn to the unknown. While others saw only the surface, you looked deeper, noticing patterns and truths they ignored. This wasn't something you chose. It was something that chose you. Every moment you felt out of place, every time you wondered why you couldn't just blend in, was a sign that you weren't meant to. You weren't supposed to fit into a mold because you were designed to break it. Your life wasn't meant to be ordinary. It was always pointing to something more. As you grew, the differences became impossible to ignore. You noticed you could feel things that others couldn't. Emotions, energies, shifts in the atmosphere. Sometimes you'd speak up, only to be met with confusion or dismissal. It made you question yourself. You'd ask, why do I see what others don't? Why can't I just let things go the way they do? But the truth was, those questions were your gift, your heightened sensitivity. Your ability to read between the lines was never a weakness. It was a sign that you were tapped into something greater. While others followed the rules, you felt compelled to rewrite them, even if you didn't fully understand why. As you look back now, you can see how those early moments were preparing you for a journey that was anything but conventional. The times you were labeled different or too sensitive were not meant to diminish you. They were meant to remind you that your path would not be the same as everyone else's. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams that set him apart, dreams that others didn't understand. His brothers ridiculed him, and he faced countless trials. But those dreams were the signs that he was never meant to stay in the fields as a shepherd. He was destined for something greater. Just like Joseph, your differences have always been signals of a higher calling. When you reflect on those times you felt isolated or misunderstood, you might now realize they weren't random. They were part of a pattern, clues from the universe that your life would not follow a normal script. Perhaps you felt the need to retreat into solitude, not out of loneliness, but because your spirit needed clarity. Perhaps you found yourself questioning the status quo, not because you were rebellious, but because you were searching for a deeper truth. Those were the first signs of transformation. You began to see that the odd pieces of your life weren't a burden. They were the foundation of a life that would inspire and lead others. Even in the challenges, there were moments of divine alignment. Times when you found yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting someone who seemed sent to guide you, or discovering an opportunity that didn't just feel coincidental. It felt orchestrated. These were signs that your path was being guided by something greater. The more you leaned into your authenticity, the more the world began to shift around you. Doors that were once closed started to open. People who didn't understand you began to drift away, while those who shared your vision began to appear. The very signs that made you feel different were the same signs pointing you to your true purpose. Now, it's clear that your journey was never meant to be about fitting in. It's about standing out, about shining in a way that draws others toward their own light. The biblical stories of Gideon, Esther, and David remind us that being chosen often means walking a path no one else can see. Gideon didn't think he was strong enough. Esther didn't feel she was ready. David didn't seem like the obvious choice. But the signs that marked them as different were the same signs that revealed their destiny. They, like you, were never meant to blend in. They were meant to rise, to lead, to inspire. As you embrace these truths, you begin to see the divine thread running through your life. You realize that every rejection, every moment of self-doubt, and every time you wondered why me was leading you here, to this moment where you understand that those signs weren't just random occurrences. They were breadcrumbs from the universe, guiding you to step fully into who you were always meant to be. This is your time to stop questioning your path and start walking it with confidence. You've been shown the signs, and now you know they were never meant to hold you back. They were meant to set you free. Why the system tries to make chosen ones feel small. From a young age, you felt the weight of the world trying to mold you into something you were never meant to be. Society and its systems aren't designed to nurture the extraordinary. They're built to maintain a predictable order. That's why the pressure to conform has always been so heavy on you. It wasn't personal. It wasn't because you were failing or flawed. It was because your very existence threatened to disrupt the comfortable patterns that others relied on. While you struggled to find your place, the system was busy ensuring that you never felt at home in your own skin. They tried to make you believe that standing out was wrong, that being different was dangerous, and that the safest path was to shrink yourself to fit. But deep down, you knew that their attempts to make you small only confirmed that you were meant for something far greater. As you grew older, you began to notice how often the world dismissed your ideas, how frequently your passions were brushed aside, and how the people around you seemed to discourage your natural strengths. They told you that your emotions were too much, that your creativity wasn't practical, and that your unique perspective didn't belong. It was subtle at first, comments from teachers, critiques from peers, moments where your voice was silenced in meetings or ignored in conversations. But over time, these small slights added up, leaving you to wonder if you were the problem. Yet even in those moments of doubt, something inside you whispered that the real issue wasn't with you at all. It was with the system that couldn't handle your light. That quiet inner knowing became your anchor, keeping you steady as the world around you tried to pull you down. The turning point often comes when you begin to realize that this resistance wasn't just a random series of events. It was part of a larger pattern, a deliberate attempt to dim your light. Consider the story of Jeremiah, who was called to be a prophet in a time when no one wanted to hear the truth. He faced ridicule and rejection because his voice disrupted the status quo. Yet his calling wasn't diminished by the opposition. It was revealed through it. The same applies to you. What the system saw as too much was actually the proof that you carried something they feared. Your uniqueness, your intensity, and your refusal to settle weren't weaknesses. They were signs that you were chosen for a higher purpose. Once you understand that the resistance wasn't random, you can see it for what it is, evidence of your power. Over time, you begin to notice subtle shifts. The ways in which you used to doubt yourself start to fade as you see the bigger picture. The dismissive comments from others no longer sting because you recognize them as symptoms of their own insecurity. You realize that your so-called flaws are actually your strengths. Your sensitivity is what makes you empathetic. Your curiosity is what drives your innovation. Your intensity is what fuels your purpose. These signs of transformation are everywhere. Doors opening where they were once closed. Opportunities appearing where you once felt stuck. What used to feel like rejection now feels like redirection. You are no longer confused about your path. You can see the divine timing at work, aligning every challenge and setback into something greater. The very system that tried to suppress you has inadvertently prepared you for this moment. When you look back at the struggles you faced, you can now see how higher forces were at play. The rejection you experienced wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to shape you. Every obstacle became a stepping stone, every setback a setup for your rise. What felt like endless resistance was actually divine intervention, clearing your path for something extraordinary. The synchronicities, the chance encounters, and the sudden shifts in your favor are proof that you were never truly alone. The system wanted you to believe you were isolated, but the truth is that you were always supported by a higher power. Now, you see that your calling isn't just real, it's undeniable. Your struggles were never about endurance. They were about preparation. They weren't about proving yourself to the world. They were about aligning yourself with your purpose. And now, as you stand at this point of clarity, you realize that the only thing holding you back is the fear of stepping fully into your power. For so long, you resisted embracing your true self because you feared what others would say. You worried that the system would find new ways to push you down, that you'd be alone in your journey. But you've outgrown that fear. You see that the same people who tried to make you feel small are the ones who were most intimidated by your potential. They feared what you could accomplish if you stopped doubting yourself. This is your moment of self-realization. You're no longer looking for permission to be who you are. You're claiming it. This is the sacred moment when you decide to walk boldly into your purpose without hesitation. With this newfound understanding, you feel a sense of empowerment that you've never experienced before. You know that you don't have to wait for someone else to acknowledge your worth. You already know your value. The system tried to make you feel small, but it only made you stronger. The challenges you faced became the training ground for your purpose. Now you see that every no was leading you to a greater yes. You release the fear, the self-doubt, and the hesitation. You step into your identity as a chosen one, ready to embrace your calling with confidence. You know exactly what you need to do next. Trust the process, deepen your spiritual practice, and walk forward without looking back. You're no longer waiting for approval. You're creating your own path. As this video comes to a close, you can feel the transformation within you. The message resonates deeply because you've lived it. You know what it feels like to be pressed down, only to rise again stronger. You know what it feels like to be misunderstood, only to find clarity and purpose. Now it's your turn to inspire others. Comment, "I am chosen," if this message speaks to you. Let this be the moment when you fully embrace your divine calling. Remember, you were never meant to blend in. You were sent to disrupt, to lead, and to illuminate. This is your time. Don't let anyone make you feel small again. Your light is too important. Your purpose too great. You are chosen, and the world is waiting for you to rise. What happens when you finally realize who you are? There's a unique energy in the air when you begin to awaken to who you truly are. Perhaps you've spent years feeling out of place, questioning why you never quite fit into the boxes others seem to slide into so effortlessly. You've watched as people moved through life with what appeared to be confidence, direction, and belonging, while you grappled with a constant inner tug, a quiet but persistent voice that whispered, "You're meant for more." This isn't just a passing thought. It's a knowing, a deep, unshakable sense that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. And now, as that realization begins to settle in, the pieces of your journey are starting to make sense. Those moments of doubt, those years of feeling unseen, they were all leading you to this point. As you reflect on the struggles you've faced, you begin to understand that they weren't random. The isolation, the setbacks, the endless questions of why me? They were all part of a larger pattern. You start to see that the people who doubted you, who criticized you, who tried to hold you back, were reflecting their own fears. Their voices were never a true measure of your worth. Their judgments weren't about you. They were about their own inability to understand your light. And so, when you tried to shrink yourself to fit their expectations, when you questioned your worth based on their words, you were giving away your power. But no more. The moment you finally realize who you are, that cycle breaks. You stop looking outward for validation. Instead, you turn inward, and what you find there is everything you need. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when you least expect it. Maybe it's a quiet moment alone, or a sudden insight that hits you during an ordinary day. The Bible tells the story of Gideon, who saw himself as the least in his family, the smallest in his tribe. He doubted he could do anything great, but God called him a mighty warrior. And once Gideon began to see himself the way God saw him, he rose up. That same shift is happening in you. You're starting to see yourself as more than what the world labeled you. You're seeing yourself as someone chosen, someone with a unique purpose. This realization is your turning point. It's the moment you stop running from your true identity and begin to embrace it fully. As you embrace this new awareness, the signs become undeniable. You notice the way certain doors are opening, while others close without much effort on your part. People who once doubted, you start to ask for your insight. Opportunities that once felt out of reach now seem almost magnetically drawn to you. Even the way you walk into a room changes. You're not trying to prove anything anymore. Your presence is enough. These shifts might feel subtle at first, but the more you step into your true self, the more obvious they become. It's like walking into a clearing after years in a dense forest. You can see where you're going now, and every step feels purposeful. You begin to trust that the timing, the delays, and even the detours were all part of a larger plan. This is what transformation feels like. Not a sudden flash, but a steady unfolding. In this moment, you realize that the struggles you faced weren't obstacles. They were instructions. Each challenge was a lesson, each setback a realignment. Divine forces have been at work, placing you exactly where you need to be. What once felt like resistance was actually preparation. What once felt like rejection was redirection. You see now that every tear shed, every door slammed, every no you heard was guiding you toward the path you're now walking. And it's not just about you. Your journey is inspiring those around you, even if they don't say it out loud. The synchronicities you notice, the connections you make, they're all reminders that you're not doing this alone. Higher powers are clearing the way, aligning circumstances, and confirming that this is where you're meant to be. You're not just stepping forward. You're stepping into a divine plan. The only thing that remains is your full acceptance of this transformation. True alignment requires more than seeing the signs. It requires embracing them. Many people shy away from this step because it feels unfamiliar. Change, even divine change, can be unsettling. But once you decide to trust the process, you realize that the discomfort of growth is far better than the comfort of stagnation. This is a sacred moment, the moment where you stop fighting who you are and start celebrating it. When you finally let go of the need for approval, when you stop fearing the unknown, you open yourself to a power that can't be matched. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming who you've always been, without hesitation or apology. And now, you stand at the threshold of a new reality. You know who you are. You know what you're capable of. You're no longer waiting for the world to recognize your worth. You already see it in yourself. The path ahead might not be fully clear, but you're ready to walk it with courage. You let go of the fears that held you back, and you step forward with confidence. You know that the challenges you'll face are simply opportunities for further growth. You know that the people who truly matter will be drawn to your authenticity. This isn't just a step forward. It's a leap into a life that reflects your highest potential. The more you trust the process, the more the universe will conspire in your favor. You've already won the battle within. Now it's time to enjoy the victory. As this chapter comes to a close, you can feel the shift deep within you. The doubts that once held you captive are gone. The lies that kept you small have lost their power. You no longer need anyone's permission to be who you are. The realization that you are chosen, that you are here for a reason, is all the confirmation you need. Comment, "I see it now," if this resonates with you. And remember, once you know who you are, the world will never look the same again. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. This is your time. Step into your light and let the world see what it means to be truly awakened. How to step fully into your calling. When you first begin to understand who you truly are, it can feel both exhilarating and overwhelming. You've spent so much time trying to fit into roles that didn't feel right, chasing goals that weren't aligned with your deeper purpose. Maybe you've struggled with self-doubt, wondering if you were capable or deserving of something greater. But now there's a shift. You're starting to see that those feelings of unease weren't just random. They were nudges from within, signs that you were meant for more. And as you step closer to your calling, the questions arise. What's next? How do you embrace what feels so much larger than you? The truth is, you're not alone in this. Many have walked this path before you, and they've found their way by trusting the call, even when the way forward seemed unclear. It's important to acknowledge the challenges that come with stepping into your calling. For some, it's the fear of failure. For others, it's the weight of expectations, family, friends, or society standards that push you to stay in the known, the safe. You might feel the pull to break free from these constraints, but the thought of leaving behind the familiar can be paralyzing. You might ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? What if I try and fail? These doubts are natural, and they are part of the process. Even those who have walked boldly into their purpose have wrestled with the same fears. What sets them apart isn't that they never doubted, but that they chose to move forward despite the doubt. And that's the key. Understanding that uncertainty doesn't disqualify you from your calling. It's actually a sign that you're about to grow. What begins to shift your perspective is realizing that the call itself is divine. It's not a random urge or a fleeting desire. It's deeply rooted, much like the story of Moses at the burning bush. He didn't feel ready. He questioned his ability, and yet the voice that called him didn't waver. It assured him, "I will be with you." This reassurance is what carries you through. You may not see the entire journey ahead, but you've been prepared for this moment. The trials you've faced, the lessons you've learned, all of it was leading to this. And now, just as Moses had to step out in faith, so must you. This is your turning point. When you choose to trust the process and accept that your path is guided by something greater than yourself. As you begin to walk in alignment with your purpose, signs of transformation will start to appear. You'll notice changes in how you view the world, how you interact with others, and how opportunities begin to show up. The people and circumstances that once felt like obstacles will either fade away or transform into stepping stones. You might find that ideas come more naturally, that your creativity flows more freely, and that you have a newfound confidence in making decisions. This isn't coincidence. It's the universe aligning with your newfound clarity. The shifts may seem small at first, a chance meeting, a timely piece of advice, but as you continue forward, you'll see how all of these seemingly minor events weave together into a much larger picture. The signs are your confirmation that you're on the right path. Beyond these tangible shifts, there's a spiritual alignment taking place. You'll start to feel an inner peace that wasn't there before. The restlessness you once felt, the longing for something more, begins to settle as you realize you're exactly where you need to be. This doesn't mean the road will be without challenges, but it does mean you'll face them with a sense of purpose and resilience. You'll notice synchronicities that can't be explained away, moments of serendipity, encounters that feel too perfect to be random. These are signs that divine forces are at work, clearing obstacles and placing you in the right positions. It's as though a hidden hand is guiding you, and the more you trust it, the more it reveals itself. This spiritual alignment reinforces that your calling is not only real, but also supported by something far greater than yourself. As this alignment deepens, you come to a moment of self-realization. It's no longer about questioning whether you're ready. It's about embracing the fact that you already are. Many people stop at the edge of this awareness, too afraid to fully commit to the unknown. But you understand now that this fear is a normal part of the process. You see that stepping into your calling doesn't require you to be fearless. It requires you to be courageous. You choose to lean into the discomfort, knowing that it's a sign of growth. This moment, right now, is your sacred invitation to say yes, to fully accept the role you were meant to play. Once you make that decision, once you cross that threshold, you'll realize there's no going back, and you won't want to. With this realization comes empowerment. You no longer seek approval from external sources. You don't need others to validate your path, because you know it's right. You find strength in your own voice, your own intuition, and this strength propels you forward. You start making choices that honor your calling, whether it's shifting your career, pursuing a passion, or simply changing the way you approach each day. You let go of the need to have all the answers. Instead, you trust that they'll come as you continue to move forward. The fear that once held you back begins to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence that you are exactly where you're meant to be. This is what it means to step fully into your calling. As this chapter comes to a close, you're left with a deep sense of purpose. You see how far you've come, and you recognize that this is just the beginning. You understand now that your calling isn't about perfection or certainty. It's about showing up. It's about taking that first step, and then the next, and then the next. Each step brings more clarity, more alignment, and more opportunities to make an impact. And as you continue on this path, you'll find that the more you trust, the more the universe supports you. Your calling isn't something you have to chase. It's something you embrace. You are ready. The time is now. Step into your calling and watch as the world responds. The future that awaits you as a fully awakened chosen one. From where you stand now, it may feel as though the world is full of uncharted territory. You've awakened to a truth that many never reach. And yet, with that awakening comes a responsibility, a sense that what lies ahead is both thrilling and demanding. This isn't just about personal growth. It's about stepping into the fullness of your power and purpose. You've begun to see beyond the constraints that once held you back, beyond the illusions that kept you small. The future ahead is not limited by the fears of the past or the doubts that used to weigh you down. It is open, expansive, and full of opportunities to create, to lead, and to inspire. This is where you begin to understand that you are not just living for yourself. You are part of a larger divine design that seeks to uplift others as well. You may still wrestle with moments of hesitation, wondering if you are truly ready for the path that lies ahead. That's natural. The fear of the unknown can make even the boldest heart pause. But as you take each step forward, you'll discover that the very act of walking brings clarity. The future does not demand perfection. It simply asks for presence. And as you stand in that presence, you'll start to notice the shifts, subtle at first, then undeniable. The energy around you changes. The time has come for you to fully embrace your calling. You've felt it, you've seen the signs, and now you know the truth. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were meant to rise, to lead, and to illuminate the way for others. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Like this video, and comment, "I am chosen to let this message anchor in your soul." Share it with someone who needs to hear this. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light, You are not just surviving, you are thriving. And the best is yet to come.